What's up, everybody? I am super excited today about the community connection, specifically to introduce Sarwar. And the reason I'm so excited about this is we went back and forth because Sarwar is such an involved person in the community that there really was a whole number of things that we could pick apart. He's a CPA, he's a partner at his firm. He runs one of the biggest networking groups in Ottawa, which is a blast to be around. He's a basketball referee, and he made it a specific point to outline that he is the father of three amazing kids, which I think is probably safe to say, a man's favorite role. Is that correct?
Yeah, no, I got three girls, and it's just a blessing and a joy.
Yeah, for now. We'll see what happens, eh?
Yeah, yeah. Check in
And
with me every couple of years.
that's it. And just a quick little check man to man. And that's absolutely amazing that, you haven't lost all those values, and you really bring all those values into literally everything you do. And, I'm excited. Like, I'm a client of yours. I've also been to a few beyond networking events. And, while we can jump right to the end, I want to hear a little bit about kind of how you got to be where you were. I know that, the CPA website featured you as, the whistleblowing referee, and you've been involved in basketball for a lot of your life. And I'll leave a post to that full article, but like, tell us a little bit about how you became that referee and sort of how it helped you later on in life.
Yeah, of course. So I grew up playing basketball. As many kids do. There's a sport that they enjoy, whether it's basketball, hockey, football, you name it. So basketball was always my sport of choice. And like many people, you reach a stage maybe where you can't play anymore. You're not, at that level. So for me, I played, basically through high school, but university basketball is a whole another level of competition. And I wasn't quite at that level yet. So while I was in high school and playing, of course, the seasons kind of run part of the year, but not the full year. When I wasn't playing, there would be the girls' season. In high school sports, the boys and girls seasons kind of are separate. So one of the things that some of the coaches that and teachers that were at the school, they said, sometimes we need referees for scrimmages. Basically a scrimmage is when it's a practice, but they're trying to simulate a game situation. So they want to have referees, they want to have coaches, they want to make it as game like as possible. So I got a little bit involved that way, and I liked it enough that I learned about some other opportunities where you can make some pocket money. We'll call it refereeing through we'll call it the house leagues and smaller age groups. And when I got to university and I wasn't able to play anymore, then I decided like, hey, I need to make money to go to university. I can certainly work in a part-time job or do different things, but basketball just speaks to me as like a, something I enjoy doing, and they pay me to do it. At that time, we're talking like 2000, we're probably talking 2005, so a ways back, but they were paying like $40 to $45 for, an hour and a bit game. So, I thought that's not a bad hourly rate. That's all probably changed since, but that's when I really got into it, was in my university years. I would do 5-6 games a week, which really adds up over the course of the year. And I kind of stuck with it throughout as I graduated, as I got into my working life and things like that. And in, I think it was 2019, or I think it was 2020, or maybe even 2021. I'm kind of a little off with the date exactly, but that's when the CPA magazine thought, hey, this is an interesting side hustle or a hobby that you have, and they wrote an article about me.
It's so funny how long you have to do something until you get that notice, right? And it's so funny because it's something that you and I have in common. I had actually refereed hockey for years and years, and again, the same thing. You go up to a 50-minute game. It's like $35 as a 16-year-old. You're jumping for joy at that kind of money. And I found personally a lot of the skills, right, and the confidence and the communication that you learn while refereeing in some, arguably tense moments, especially when some parents get involved. How have you kind of used those skills and transitioned into, eventually becoming a partner at your own firm there?
Yeah, I'd say you learn a lot of soft skills, transferable skills in officiating. It's not just the technical rules knowledge. That's part of it, but a big part of it is the soft skills, the human interaction. So, I can't speak to hockey because I don't know it that well, but basketball, people get heated, coaches, parents, players. So, sometimes you learn a couple things like admitting a mistake. Hey, I missed it. Or, hey, I'll get the next one. Or you kind of have to be firm and say, hey, you've been asking for this. I've looked for it. I don't see it. You got to move on, and we got to focus on something else. There's different things you pick up along the way, and in that officiating situation that's transferable to like home life, work life, just dealing with people in general. And I'd say that's probably the biggest takeaway. And the other one is also, I'd say, like when you're officiating, in a way you're presenting. Sometimes there was actually this NFL game. I think it was an NFL game, and a player tried to ask the official something, and the official's like, "Hold on a second, I'm talking to America." Because when they're mic'd up,
It's true.
that's kind of they're presenting. So in a way, that's another big skill that we take away. That when I go to, whether it's my work or other places where I have to talk to people, do a presentation, that confidence comes along.
It's so true, and I think like that's such a good natural segue because I mean we can talk about the CPA side of things forever, and one of the things that was really I'll say I admire about you is like the way you can control a room of 30 plus people is incredible, and obviously that comes through in all the work that you do with like beyond networking. So how did you move from CPA to hey, this is another thing that's a really positive impact for the business community in Ottawa?
From my perspective and my experience, I worked in a big mid-sized organization, and we had a lot of team building events internally. The off, and I was on the social committee, so I was kind of loving that sort of organize the office mini putt, office picnic, office holiday party. I was doing all that stuff, and then I noticed that other offices, whether it's a law office, bank, whatever, a construction company, they also did their own things in their bubbles. They have their own holiday party, their own events. And I just asked a question, maybe a rhetorical question. There was no answer to it. Was how come there's no team building events that connect across culture or across organizations? I'm in my accounting firm. I do business with this guy from this bank, from this lady at this law firm, from this person at this organization. It's nice to see them and get together once in a while, but the team building, the icebreakers, that would be a nice touch. And I didn't find anything. Like there's a ton of, I'll call it traditional networking events. There's maybe a cocktail, there's a wine and cheese, there's listen to a presentation. There's lots of that, which I think is great
Yeah.
for some people, but I just thought there wasn't any of this. So I just, being an entrepreneur, in some ways, I just thought if you see a problem, you see an opening, you do a market study, you ask some people, and some people gave me positive feedback. You do maybe a small trial run. I go mini putting with 5 people. I go to the driving range with 12 people. If things kind of progress in a positive way, which they did, then you kind of just run with it. And over time, it's been, I'm going to say 2012 is probably when it started. So, I'm going to say that it's been a number of years, and, we kind of came a long way.
Yeah. And I know humility is a big thing for you. So I'm gonna bring up some really cool features that you like. You guys have had the Ottawa Business Journal, you've had Rogers, you've had the Citizen, and I know that you guys have done I believe it was a breakfast for like the earthquake relief at Les Gorilades, and then you've also done an article about like diversity, and I think that's what you're kind of alluding to with a more cohesive, collaborative approach between businesses. Sort of how do you also incorporate the diversity within beyond networking to keep that lively and fresh and do really cool events and stuff like that?
Yeah, so one of the things that I like to do is I try to do different things. So to me, a piece of diversity is by doing different things, you'll attract people who appreciate that thing, and they can participate. So let me give you an example of the opposite. So let's say there's an organization, and every year they just do a big golf tournament.
Right.
In many ways, that's great. Maybe they're raising money for charity. Maybe they're getting people together. There's a lot of positives. So in many ways, it's good to have. However, if there's people that don't play golf, if there's people that have never learned that sport, maybe they grew up in that, like I never learned to play golf as a kid. I do play a little bit now, but in a way, that's not fully inclusive, because what they're doing is not something that you know how to do. Like an example for
Right.
me would be like if someone invited me to play hockey, I'd be like, I never really learned to skate. I don't have the equipment,
Yeah.
so to me, it's not that I don't like playing golf. I do, but to me, it's like, let's do something different every time. We're not just doing one main event. of any one type. We're going to go paintballing. We're going to have a paint night. Those are two very extremely different activities, and that way, if someone has like a physical condition where they can't participate in something that's more active, whether someone's pregnant, like whatever the
Right.
situation is that allows them or doesn't allow them to do certain things, we're going to try to hit, we're going to go on an art tour. We're going to go on like one of those haunted walks in Ottawa. So it gives people a little bit of a well-roundedness. And I think it's more inviting than when someone looks at the schedule and they're like, oh, they're going to do paint night. I've been dying to do paint night. Let's sign up. That sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And it's funny when you do so many different events, you start to introduce people who may have otherwise been brand new to networking. So like for someone who's totally brand new or a seasoned veteran who wants to, learn how to do it better, what are some of the top tips that you could provide somebody to get the most out of joining the beyond networking events, or even reaching out to you and talking to you about it? Like, what are some of those tips you'd suggest for some people?
So a couple of tips. One tip I like to give people is if you are hesitant because you've never been to something before, there's this barrier, like I've never gone to, whether it's beyond networking or there's lots of other great events in the city. If you've
Right.
never been, you're kind of like, I don't know if I'll know anyone there. I don't know what the room's going to be like. I don't know if anyone's going to talk to me. I usually suggest a buddy system. If you know someone that might also be in the same boat and you're willing to try it together, it's like the gym. You might not go to the gym on your own, but if you have a gym buddy and they're kind of on your case,
Right.
hey, we're gonna go Saturday at 11 a.m. and you're kind of held accountable a little bit. That then translates to when you get there, you kind of have this. I feel like a little safety blanket, it's a little bit comforting that at least there's one person you can always go to talk to them. You can work the room together. You
Right.
can at least maybe between the two of you, you'll know someone there and you can break into a conversation that way. So I like to use the team system where if you haven't been somewhere before, hey, let's go together and let's try to tackle it as a team. The other thing I tell people is when you're in those conversations, if someone says hi to you, you say hi to someone, that, however it starts off. To me, the best way to make an impact and give value when it comes to networking is try to do a really, really good job of listening. So try to be mindful of like the talking to listening ratio. Some people, they get asked a question and then all of a sudden they're, talking for 3 minutes. It's like a very long-winded, how was your summer? And it's like, like I took these 5 trips and this thing happened, that thing happened,
Right.
so be mindful of that. And ideally the ratio should be half, because in the moments of listening, that's when you're going to pick up stuff. They're going to tell you something interesting. They're going to tell you something they need. You're going to be able to maybe give them some help or give them something. So that's going to be the moments where now the networking value can be added, because someone says, hey, I'm trying to hire someone. We're having a hard time finding someone. You pick up that piece and you're like, oh, I actually came across a candidate, or I know someone's son or daughter looking,
Right.
or there's a job fair coming up, that and then you can like share that information with them, and now you're giving them value. That's where the true value is, listening, and then maybe trying to like find something to share with them afterwards.
There's that old adage of like you have two ears and one mouth, and
Yeah.
there's a reason for that, right? Listen is twice as much as you talk. I know you work with a whole number of like local businesses, and whether it's from the CPA side, the networking side, or your personal belief, why do you believe that it's important to shop local?
To me, that's your community, like to me, having a successful, thriving community, where other people are doing well, just helps me, helps them, so to me, we're all in it together, like my neighbors have a group chat on WhatsApp. One day they'll be like, oh, there's like this dog wandering around, if anyone sees it, contact this number, or like,
Right.
lost a cat, like whatever. Simple thing is the power went out and does someone have a generator, stuff like that. So to me, that's what it's all about. It's just helping people that you can see, helping people that, have helped you, because generally if you have a business, it's those local people that come your way to support your business. So to me, that's part of the ecosystem. It's not to say, if you were to check the tags on my clothes, there might be some clothes that are not made in Canada, but
Right.
where possible, I'm gonna do my part and support local as well.
For sure. And so when you're visiting the Glebe, like what are some of your favorite things to do in the area?
I mean, the most recent one that I can think of was just this past Friday. I was at the Red Blacks game, and
Nice.
and I think Lansdowne and that whole area is just a world class, experience, because you go there early. They got like the Joey's and they got like all the little shops that you can walk around, Crate and Barrel, and a few others. Grab a bite to eat. You watch the game. Weather was beautiful. Red Blacks won. Which was nice. So
Yep.
we had a we had a fun night cheering for the home team. They beat Saskatchewan. Game ends. Tens of thousands of people just kind of in a good mood, wandering around. Rolled up ice cream, which is
Yep.
I'm a fan of theirs. Out, grab a drink, grab a bite to eat, grab some dessert. To me, that's like the fact that it's all walkable. You don't have to jump in your car. Don't have to go anywhere. That to me is one of my favorite spots about the Glebe, is that
Nice.
whole area.
Yeah. And I think like it's, and maybe it's one of those things where you kind of have this isolation of pretty much everything you need for, a perfect night. Right.
Yeah.
And, the street leading into it is just phenomenal. And when you've been down here, whether recently, have you had an amazing experience at a particular business that you want to just kind of give a shout out to, like an opportunity to be like, hey, I appreciated this so much. And, I want to give a shout out to this business.
Yeah, there's one that jumps to my mind. I love the fact that Kettleman's is always open.
Yeah.
Like man, you just like 24/7, 365, I think is their motto. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes you're just kind of like in a bind, like, is this place open? Oh, it's Monday, they're not open. Or, oh, it's like, after 11 o'clock, it's not open. It's just that reliability kind of gives me some security that, I can just show up and they'll
Yeah.
be open. And
You're just
not that I
getting a
eat tons.
warm bagel.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, not that I eat tons of bagels, but yeah, once in
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
while I'll get I think it's like a smoked salmon bagel that
Nice.
I with cream cheese and chives and a pickle, and I just it's a treat for me.
That's it. And it's funny, like it's so simple. That 24/7 approach is their value add. And like there's just it's continually going. It always smells amazing on that corner of Fifth and Bank. It's hard to walk by without getting Kettleman's, right? Because they just got that they got all your senses going, right? From a business standpoint on your own side of things, whether it's for your CPA firm or beyond networking, what's next for you?
So I'm kind of very mindful of the balance. Like some
Yeah.
people have. I work with entrepreneurs, so some people have the end goal of like it's never enough. Like
Yeah.
next level. Like my company's making $1 million a year. Next year I need to make two. The year after that, three. And then that in itself is a grind and a like a race.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. I applaud that. Like I kind of look at that, and maybe there was a stage in my life where I felt like that, maybe in my 20s. Now that I have the three kids, I feel like things are in a really good spot, because as like my kids are 6, almost 4, and 2 months. So as like their activities kind of come, I gotta be mindful of things that come up. Like once in a while I'll get asked, like, do you want to volunteer on this board? Or do
Yeah.
you want to take this thing on? And at the moment I'm kind of like at a very comfortable place. And I've learned that you need to be able to say no to stuff to be able to say yes to stuff. So you got to say no first oftentimes to keep
Yeah.
yourself open to say yes. So I'm kind of saying no to everything. I know there's a few people and a few things that come along, and it's near and dear to my heart, and I will say yes. But
Nice.
work wise, it's a good balance there. Beyond networking, I still continue to organize the events, but it's very, because the group has gained so much momentum, it's not as time consuming as it maybe was in the early days. You kind of
Right.
reach like a flywheel, or there's like a momentum that just there's this guy named Zig Ziglar, and he's like, you're cranking the pump. I don't know if you've heard that
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
analogy.
familiar with that.
Prime the pump, and it's like at the beginning you're working hard because you got to like get the water up the pump. But once it's like there, then it's like you're just kind of like giving it its gentle, you're just rolling it along, as opposed to getting it all up. So a lot of stuff there is kind of, I'm going to say, at a reasonable level, and that way I can kind of focus my attention on the swimming lessons and different things that come up. There's
Yeah.
and now I think one of the biggest things for me growing up was travel. So I want my kids to travel, get some other country experiences, and kind of see the world.
That's amazing. And I think like there's so much that you learn from traveling that, you don't learn, right? And that's that life experience side of things where, being accepting of culture, being accepting of diversity, being able to see how other people live, right? And then adapting the positive qualities to your own life. Like there's so much that people can gain, especially kids, from seeing different environments. So I love that. And it's something that you and I definitely share from that regard. And so as we kind of round all this up, like, I really love that, you've been able to, maintain a lot of the values that you hold through literally everything that you do. And it shines so brightly in your practice, your communications there, the beyond networking side. And I'm super happy that we were able to get connected and talk specifically about, beyond networking. It's such a crucial tool to have, those communication skills, the ability to, essentially become a super connector, which you kind of are. Everyone that I've talked to, they're like, hey, I need this. And I was like, I know Sarwar is going to have someone for that. For the budding super connector or the budding entrepreneur, how can they get connected into beyond networking? Like, if they're watching this, what's the best way to be in touch with you, specifically to get going?
Yeah, so we're on social media. So I have an Instagram account at Beyond Networking. I have a Facebook page. If you look up Beyond Networking, I have a LinkedIn page. So you can look up, yeah, you can look up Beyond Networking specifically. You can
Yeah,
also
yeah,
look me up. So I kind of try to be the face and the voice of
yeah,
Beyond Networking. So when the emails go out, I sign my name at the bottom.
yeah.
It's not like Beyond Networking. It's like Sarwar Qureshi.
It's still personal. It's nice.
Yeah, yeah. So you can look me up. I'm on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram as well.
Awesome.
And we try to be open to all in the sense that if someone is just wanting to meet people, and I think COVID's actually increased our opportunity because people work from home now. They don't have office mates, or they don't have maybe regular office socializing that they used to.
Right.
So it's created this avenue where adults just want to talk to adults, or people in real life.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just do different things. I mentioned a few examples earlier. We have stuff coming up in October. I'm working on a really big holiday party. That's our end of year event, because it all started as like small organizations, solopreneurs might not have a holiday party. There's no one to work with. You work by yourself, you work with a
Right.
team of 2 people. Are you really going to be able to do the grand holiday party that, some of the bigger companies, they get like you know, um, a magic act, or a murder mystery, or a dance floor, like some of those things
Yeah. Yeah.
that you can do in a big restaurant convention center setting. So it kind of started off as like, hey, let's give these solopreneurs and freelancers an opportunity to do a joint party, and it's become a massive, massive thing now. So yeah, by all means, jump in if you're interested, and you'll meet some really interesting people. And Ottawa is such a small place that once you come or see who's coming, normally like people will be like, oh, I never knew like Alyssa or Kelly or Jonathan,
Yeah.
was here, or I know them from, school or work or whatever. So it
Yeah.
kind of makes things a little bit easier to break into that way too.
And the nice part is, like, now, especially with the video, they have a face to a name. So if you go to the event, just find Sarwar right away, and you're going to get introduced to literally everyone in that room. So that's amazing. Sarwar, thanks so much for popping on with us here today and chatting more about Beyond Networking. What I'm going to do for everyone is just leave the links for all of your social profiles in the little description below, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Nice. And if you ever want to hop on, or you have anyone that wants to hop on with us and do another interview, feel free to let them know, because that's something we're always looking for, amazing people, and you're surrounded by them. And I think you've earned that. You've truly earned it over the last, decade, right? For as long as I've known you, you've been continually being that super connector in Ottawa, and it's a valuable resource for everyone to have. Everyone needs a Sarwar in their life.
I appreciate it. Thank you very kindly for the kind words, Mike. And it's
Yeah.
been a pleasure knowing you, working with you, and for hopefully years to come.
So that'll be the end of the session today, guys. If you have any questions for Sarwar, you can either reach out to him directly, either through social media or through the website. Or if you guys have any questions, or you want to see someone else featured on the show, drop a quick comment in the description below. We're always responsive to make sure that we're connecting with some of the best people around Ottawa. So looking forward to it, and we'll see you guys next time.